So, welcome. This will be the follow-up video to the last two videos that I made on why and why not one should join IISERs. And in this video, I would like to clear some myths and provide some more reasons on why one should join IISERs. I would also like to answer some of the very frequently asked questions that I just keep seeing in the comments. They pop up from time to time, so it would be good to just put them in a video. So before I move on to the actual discussion, let me give you a bit of a disclaimer. Everything I say in this video and what I said in the last two videos are based on my personal experiences and those of my friends as IISER students and our opinions. So yeah, take these with a pinch of salt. Now coming to the most asked question ever in the comment sections, which is what is the salary of a PhD student in US or in Europe? So speaking from my experience and those of my friends in US and Europe, the salary can vary anywhere from 1800 euros in say some place like Italy to all the way like 4000 euros in some place like Switzerland or something. One has to remember that living expenses also vary. So as a thumb rule, you can expect to save around 1000 euros no matter where you are per month. So even if you say are in Switzerland and get around 4000 euros a month, the cost of living is so high that you'll still be saving like 1000 euros. And say you are getting 1800 euros per month, say in Italy, you'd still be saving 1000 euros because cost of living in Italy is just cheap. So all in all, in summary, you can expect to save around 1000 euros for yourself every month, no matter where you are. So to reiterate, no matter how much salary you get, you can expect to save around 1000 euros slash USD, that is dollars, per month. Now this is the amount that will be available to you for your personal use. That is after your groceries, paying rent, paying other taxes, and generally just roaming around. So say you save 1000 euros per month, you can easily live a quite comfortable life for early 20s adult in Europe, to be honest. So occasionally go on trips across Europe or in US. You can also buy relatively luxurious stuff for you. So for example, I drive a 200 euro cycle every day. I also have a 200 euro Galaxy watch, and I also bought an iPad with my savings. So yeah, you will save a decent amount, and 1000 euros is not a lot per month, to be honest, by European standards. But if you convert these to INR, yeah, this is kind of a substantial amount in Indian rupees. And one more point is that you get your salary in euros or USD. So it really fluctuates. Like 1 euro right now is sitting at the time when I'm recording this video is sitting at around 99 rupees per euro, but it just keeps fluctuating. So yeah, every time the Indian INR tanks, we just get a bonus in INR. So this happens, and so yeah, when you live in a developed economy and in a strong currency, and your purchasing power in India increases quite significantly. So yeah, you can easily send say like 500 euros, which would be around 50,000 INR per month home, and then have 500 euros for your own for spending. I mean, you can spend it on whatever you want. Now, this brings me on to the second most asked questions, which is what about the placement at IISERs? So, to clear a myth, there are no PhD placements at IISERs. No, there is no placement cell or something like that which places people in PhD programs. One has to apply on their own. And I think this is a unique advantage of being IISER student is that since there is an extensive culture of applying to PhD programs abroad, one just gets to learn how to apply to PhD programs, be it in India or be it abroad. This is basically something that you build up as you apply for internships, as you talk to seniors, as you talk to seniors who are doing PhDs abroad, as you talk to seniors who are already professors. So you get to know a lot from them, and you also get to know a lot from your peers. Because when I was applying for my PhD, all of my friends, be it my roommate or be it my department's batchmates, everybody was applying for a PhD position. So we were talking a lot like who was applying for that and so on, how to get a reco. So there is this general culture, and once you're there, you'll just figure out how this is done. Now, this brings me on to my next point, which is placements right after BSMS, which is placement in industry and not a PhD program right after your BSMS from IISERs. So yes, I would like to clarify there exist placements for BSMS graduate, there exist placement cells, and there have been quite a significant amount of placements recently from the placement cell. Like I personally know people who got into reputed companies like Deloitte, Barclays, etc. But then again, only about 10 or 15 of around 180 people of our batch set for placement, and of them, only 7 finally took their offers. So yeah, if you are a hiring company, you are generally just by low number of students at IISERs, you are discouraged to come to IISERs. So not a lot of companies prefer coming to IISERs because for a company to come for campus placement, it's costs and it's a hassle, right? So if they can only hire, say, 7 or 8 people, and of them, only say half of them actually accept their offer, it's just not cost effective for them to hire from IISERs. Like, think about it. As a recruiter, it would be much better to just go to an IIT and hire like 50, 60 people there because just have a larger pool of folks sitting in placement. So yeah, this is the fact that makes IISERs really unattractive for recruiters. But this shouldn't give you the impression that there are no recruiters at IISERs. In fact, there have been some really reputed recruiters coming to IISERs lately. For example, I know a person who got into Barclays right after their BSMS in mathematics. I also know folks, a lot of folks actually, who got into consultancy firms like Deloitte and EY right after their BSMS in mathematics and physics. And I also know folks who went to BARC, which is Baba Atomic Research Center, right after the BSMS, but for that you'll have to give an exam. And I also know people who got into coaching industry. And to be honest, in my knowledge, none of my batchmates are unemployed. So I have been hearing a lot in the comment section that there is this rumor going around that one would be unemployed after joining IISER. I don't think that's the case anymore. Just because IISER brand now is a strong brand, so you can even join the coaching industry. And I mean, IISERs are no joke, right? Like these are institutions which are in top 10 in the Nature Index, which is a really reputed ranking, to be honest, for research institutions across the globe. This brings me on to one of the really underappreciated advantages of joining IISERs is that academia is actually a very small and tight-knit community, if you think about it. Like, how many of you have ever run into a physicist, especially in India? Because Indian academia is small, and academia in general around the world in any country is small. There's just not a lot of people doing physics or biology or any kind of this kind of really high level stuff. So IISER gives you this really elite connections, which helps a lot in getting a position or securing funding and so on. How do I know this? I know this because, so let me tell you a small story. When I joined Fritz Haber Institute of the Max Planck Society here in Berlin, I told one of the professors who taught us condensed matter physics in IISER Kolkata that I'm going to join Fritz Haber Institute. And he looked me dead in the eye and he said, I've been there. I've spent like 2 years there. And he just said, oh, I also know the folks you'll be working with. So this kind of head up really helped me. And so yeah, you see, I already have connections to Fritz Haber Institute even before coming here. So when I came here, my seniors from IISER Kolkata, they helped me a lot, be it in finding housing and so on, and just in general settling into a really foreign environment. So this is, I think, something that is quite hard to explain to someone who probably has never been out of their homes. Most of you, I guess, are children in the late teens. But yeah, once you are in a really foreign country, this kind of support really helps. And the other thing is, this kind of support also helps you when, say, you are applying for funding or a position, because, say, if you are sending a reco from someone who's already been in that place, then the recruiter would be assured that this recommendation letter is actually valuable. So yeah, in that sense, the connection and the networks that IISER gives you is really, really invaluable. Like, in my network, I know folks who are right now professors at Oxford, professors at various US universities, professors in other IISERs, professors in IITs, who are leaders, group leaders in Max Planck institutions. So yeah, this alumni network just helps a lot, especially in academia and also in industry, to be honest. Because I know a lot of alumni who are working in consultancy firms and things like that in banking, and they have their own startups. So when it comes to getting a position or something, be it after your base MS or after your PhD or whenever in your life, this network really helps. So yeah, this is, I think, a really underappreciated advantage of joining IISERs. Now, coming to the next frequently asked question, which is what kind of jobs can one do after doing a PhD in, say, Europe or US or any other Western country? So, to be honest, there exists an extensive R&D sector in US and Europe. So, just to give you guys an example, let's do a little detour. So a Fourier transform is defined as such as the formula shown on screen. So nothing so special, and you can do really interesting optical tricks with it called Fourier optics. What's so special? Well, to a very Indian mind, it would seem that these things have nothing to do in real life, but after all, most of us are taught to take knowledge at face value. But have you ever heard about the Sidewinder air-to-air missile system as shown here in this video? So this is basically a simple missile system developed in the early 60s, late 50s by the US, which self-guides itself without using any AI onto its target when fired from a fighter aircraft onto another fighter aircraft. And this missile works on nothing but just some clever Fourier optics. So yeah, you can see the amount of applications of the research that you do is literally infinite. The implications of basic research is really, really unfathomable. So yeah, the R&D sector in developed countries is expensive, and it's not like India where the research is taken on a face value and the research is well funded regardless of potential outcomes. There exists conjugate R&D industry in the private industrial sector. So one can relatively comparatively take up a job after completing the PhD. Now, important word here is comparatively, as it's not as simple as it seems because you still have to put in a lot of hard work. But yeah, it's much orders of magnitude easier here in Europe or US than say in some place like India. And say you don't even want to continue in research and development. Now, since scientists are highly valued individuals in any Western society, you can easily take up a role in any kind of consultancy firm or finance firms. In fact, finance firms love to hire scientists. In fact, recently one of my close friends from IISER Kolkata got an offer from Amazon Quantum to do an internship there and eventually do a job there, but he just refused because he already has plenty of funding and is really interested in continuing his PhD. So yeah, the opportunities once you are at this stage, you really become an asset, to be honest, for the Western society. So you are really valued both in industry and in academia. So yeah, you won't be unemployed after your PhD, that's for sure. And you will earn a really decent amount of salary, even by European standards, after a PhD. How much salary can you expect right after a PhD? You can expect anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 euros per month right after your PhD. So yeah, it's quite a decent salary by European standards. Coming to the very last frequently asked question, which is, can you settle in a Western country after doing a PhD, after doing your BSMS at IISER? Well, this is certainly possible, and in fact, if you are a scientist or a doctor, it's easier to settle in a Western country. But this really varies from time to time and depends really on the political scenario of the country that you are planning to live in. For example, in the United States, it recently got much more difficult for folks to get a green card, which is the permanent residency there. And there's a similar scenario in Canada, but in Europe, as scientists, you are really valued, so you can still think about opening a company and settling here. So yeah, that's possible, but it really depends on which country you're in. For example, in Switzerland, there's no chance as an Indian that you will be able to stay after completing a PhD. You'll need some kind of special visa or something. So this is something that you will have to see, and this is one of the major reasons why a lot of IISER graduates actually prefer to come to Europe over US, because citizenship laws here are much more lax compared to US. So I think this is basically it for this video, and as I always say, everything expressed in this video is my personal opinion and that of my friends, and the experiences of me and my friends as either students and as PhD students in Europe and US and Australia, Japan, and so on so far. So yeah, feel free to ask more questions in the comment. Thanks for watching.